got my 5 minutes. Good evening to you and good evening to everyone. It's sheets of ply. I understand that they've purchased. So again, if you have transport, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can assist this family member. Okay, so we say good evening, and on behalf of the family, welcome back to First Lady. She was away from us last evening for the very first time, and you know, I was telling her it felt so strange being here without her. It really felt strange. Didn't seem the same at all. Maybe just mind over matter, but that's how it was for me. But anyway, we want to continue with where we left off last evening. We're talking about love, this thing called love. And we looked at the fact that love is patient. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and love is kind. And we talked about kindness last evening, and we looked at some stories of kindness in the Bible. And tonight we want to move on from there. And I would have given Joshua some verses of scripture to put in the chat. I trust that they are in the chat and that people would have chosen their verses to use. By the way, if you're new this evening, for the first time today, we welcome you to the Live Right family. And this is how we do it. 45 minutes, First Lady would take, and then the next 45 minutes is where and if the next 45 minutes is where I would come in. Sorry, I just got slightly distracted. Okay, so we're talking about kindness, this thing called kindness. And we said that kindness, if you have to describe kindness, in fact, the dictionary describes kindness as the sincere and voluntary use of one's time, talent, and resources to better the lives of others. And it must be that, to better the lives of others. But not only others, one's own life or yourself, and the world through genuine acts of compassion, generosity, and service. And that's the definition of kindness. Now, the scriptures are really laden with a number of verses that tells us that we ought to be kind. But let's just look at two of them, Ephesians 4:32 and Proverbs 3:27 and 28. Did anybody choose those two verses of scripture? Ephesians 4:32 and Proverbs 3:27 and 28. Let's read them in that order, please. Ephesians 4.
Sister Corinthians, Sister Judy, in that order.
Sister Corinthians? Can she unmute? Can they unmute?
Yes, Dr. Richards, they can.
Okay. Okay, if she's not able to read it, could somebody read it for me, please? Ephesians 4:32. Now, I know people would have chosen scripture verses last evening, but we're talking about tonight, Tonight. So Ephesians 4:32.
Ephesians 4:32, Dr. Richards. And be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgive you.
Okay, so we are called to be kind to one another, tender-hearted or compassionate, forgiving each other. So forgiveness is an act of kindness, just as Christ also forgave us. So we are called, we are urged to be kind and compassionate or tender-hearted to one another. We are called to do that as believers. Proverbs 3:27 and 28.
Do not withhold good. Okay, go ahead.
Good night, everyone. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in the power of your hand to do so. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come back, and tomorrow I will give it when you have it with you.
You hear that? You hear that? Don't withhold good from those to whom it is due. Who is it? Who is due good? Or to whom is good due? Everybody. And sometimes people find themselves in a situation where you can do good to them. And the scripture says, don't withhold, don't say no. In fact, don't tell them come back tomorrow when you could do it now. You have the ability, you have the resources, you have the time, you have everything. And you tell the person, come back now, or maybe next time. And you know next time, you know when they come back tomorrow, they're not going to see you. You know when they come back that you're going to avoid them. And that is what the scripture says that you should avoid, doing things like that. So if it is in the power of your hand to do so, because everybody's fighting for power. Everybody wants power, you know, so that they could rule. But power is the ability to do something. So once you are able, once you have the ability, and able and ability come from the same root word. Once you are able to do something for somebody, the scripture says, do it. Do it the same way you would want it done for you or to you, then you should do that for someone else. So we are supposed to be kind. Now, let me say this. Kindness is not a feeling. Kindness is not a feeling. It is an act. It is something that you do. Something that you show. You can't just feel kind. Kindness must be shown. It must be demonstrated. People must see that you are kind. And kindness is very simple, you know. It doesn't mean that you have to go and pay off the mortgage for someone. It doesn't mean that you have to give somebody a vehicle. Simple things, simple acts of kindness can help people. Simple thing. A smile could be an act of kindness. A kind word, an encouragement, a good morning, not a forward, as First Lady said. But you tell somebody, good morning, God bless you today. That's an act of kindness. And remember, we're saying that love is kindness, so we're looking at what love is. Opening a door for somebody. I don't know if we do that anymore. You hold the door for them. And listen, fellas, I know only a few fellas on the chat. But holding the door is not just for the females, you know. You can hold the door for a man too. You know he's coming through the door and you hold the door for it. That's an act of kindness. Simple things that we can do to show kindness. Somebody's carrying something heavy and you offer to help them. That's an act of kindness. Helping an elderly person or blind person cross the street. Well, I don't see that anymore. I don't know about you. I cannot tell when last. I don't know if it's because blind people are now more independent than they were before. But I can't tell when last I see somebody helping a blind person cross the road, or even an elderly person. Maybe the elderly don't need that kind of help again either. I don't know. But I have not seen that in a long, long time. So let me ask you, tell me some of the ways. Let's talk. What are some of the ways that we can practically show kindness? Because kindness is a practical thing. And it's very simplistic, very, very easy. So nobody can say, well, I don't know how to be kind, or I don't get the opportunity to be kind. That is not so. All of us can be kind. All of us get the opportunity to be kind, sorry. So let's hear some examples of kindness. Talk to me, somebody. Simple ways that you can show kindness as you go about your day.
Good night, everyone.
Hi.
Let me just kind of lift your hands first and we'll call your name, but go ahead, you're already on the platform.
Yeah, I would say that one kindness is like helping someone with their market bags to go up the road. Ask them how far they reach in and they carry their market bag.
And make sure you carry it and give it to them, eh? Because some people
I did.
And well, yeah, okay. But somebody might offer to carry your market bag and you mightn't say it again. So you got to be careful with that too. All right, but yes, let's hear some of the acts of kindness that we can do.
Right, Doctor. So before Sister Debbie, her hand is up, but before Sister Debbie, we have a few comments. Saying good morning, can I help you? Is an act of
Yes,
kindness.
correct.
Pastor, when I'm coming out from the bank and someone is coming in, I hold the door so that they
Wonderful,
can, right? Then give a
wonderful.
meal to a homeless person.
Mm-hmm.
You can give a greeting,
And let
praying
me
for.
just say this
Mhm.
before you go on. Giving a meal to a homeless person is one, but it's not just homeless person. You know. How about your coworker? You know that you realize they may not tell you, but you realize, hey, they might be going through something, some financial thing. I'll buy lunch for you today, or I'll go in for lunch. What is your want? And nobody, I will take care of it. Well, how about that? Yeah, I mean, giving a homeless person is good because it is an act of kindness. But I'm also saying people around us, if we are discerning enough, sometimes we might realize, hey, this person, they need a helping hand. They might be going through something financially. You notice every day they bring in bread, or they're working through lunch, and they realize it's not because they want to work through lunch, but it's because they don't have anything to eat. All right? And when you're doing the act of kindness, it's not for the world to see. So you don't come and say, hey, I buy a lunch for you today, girl. No, no, no. Take it to the person and, I brought this for you. You understand what I'm saying? So let's hear you.
Yeah, Dr. Richards. And someone said babysitting for a mother,
Mm-hmm.
Praying for a fellow passenger.
Mm-hmm.
And my comment would be to let others go ahead of you.
Let others go ahead of you.
Like if
Where?
you're in the supermarket and they see somebody old or have one item, that kind of a thing. Sister
Yeah.
Debbie.
Mm-hmm. Sister Debbie.
Blessed night, everyone. An act of kindness is that if you have a vehicle and maybe just say your neighborhood have 2 to 3 houses of pensioners now, you could volunteer to take them to the bank or take them around. You can do that. It's an act of kindness.
That's an act of kindness, yes. Yes, Sister Debbie. Anyone else?
I have no other hands, but someone says giving someone a place to stay at your home,
Mm-hmm.
inviting someone for a meal,
Right.
offering time,
That's no,
offering.
just before you continue. Now, even when we're doing acts of kindness, we have to be wiser. It's not just doing the act. So sometimes you got to be careful of who you let into your home. Just be careful. We got to be wise with it as well. So me and somebody come, because we have a lot of scam artists out there. We have a lot of people who want to rob you and who want to do you wrong. So we've got to be careful, even as we're doing acts of kindness. So let's go ahead.
And another comment is offering time to listen to someone who needs to be heard, not to comment, but just listen.
Let's still listen.
Walk with extra food or sandwich and offer. Just taking time to genuinely listen to someone.
And listen, you all wouldn't believe how important that is. Sometimes people just want people to talk. I tell you, there are people, ladies especially, elderly ladies, who call me and they just call and they say hello and they start to talk. They just start to talk. And I realized they just want somebody to talk to, and they talk and they talk. And, I listen, I said, God, but it's better they talk to me than they stay there and be frustrated because the children and the grandchildren don't have anything to do with them and treating them bad, and I allow them to talk. And sometimes I wish I could do something more to help them, that I could put them in a house of their own, or bring all of them together, all the people who call me, and have that place for them where they can be friends with one. I wish, God, I said, God, sometimes I wish I was in a position to do that. But most of the time, all I can do is listen. Yeah, and that's something, that's all they want. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
So true, Doctor. We have Elder Mary hand up, but before Elder Mary, I just want to finish off this comment. Just buying groceries for those who are in need, even your neighbor. Being there for someone who really needs it. Washing your neighbor's clothes. complete a task for a colleague who did not come to work but was assigned a pre-arranged task. Even just a gentle hug or a smile saying, how are you going? How are you feeling? Offering to pay for someone medication when they don't have enough money. Elder Mary.
Well, good night, good night. You know, you might have a neighbor or you know someone that have children and they have to go to the market or the supermarket or they have an appointment. So instead of them leaving the children unattended, you know, you offer to throw an eye to watch them while they are away and provide something for them to eat, you know, until the parent come back.
Thank you. First Lady, could you write that down for me? Throw an eye. All right. I am.
Yes,
I am. Right. That, maybe I better explain to the others. You know, I don't know how many of you have seen my 2 videos with understanding Tringlish or Trini language, and I've done 2 videos. I'm looking to do some more. So every time I hear something that is uniquely local, I take it because I want to put it in my next you know, next video that I'm doing, and that's another one. Try. That's something only Trinis would say. So try and them children for me, please. All right. So yes, and that is an act of kindness. That is an act, and you see how simple it is. Act. You know, when you do an act of kindness, it means you're selfless. You're thinking about somebody else. You're thinking about somebody else. And that's love. That's what love is about. It's not about me. It's about you and what I can do for you. And let me just I was thinking, how about this one? And I know some people may not want to agree with me with this one, but this is one of my pet peeves and my pet passion at the same time. How about feeding birds? First Lady does that every day. First Lady would buy bananas, and sometimes I used to say to her, "You're taking bananas and give to birds, girl. You know, we have 3 children, 3 boys. We have to think about, you know, feeding them, and you feeding birds." But she feeds birds every day with bananas. She bought a thing now where she put bananas on the birds for the birds every single day, and she would go and buy, you know, a couple of pounds of bananas and feeding the birds. All right, and not that part of it, right? Feeding birds, but not but. In addition to that, feeding birds, but don't put them in a cage. That is my peeve. I do not like to see birds in cages. Now, I know people have birds, and they have birds in cages, and the birds sing sweetly, and the birds are colorful, and they love them, and fine, as if that's your, you know, if that's what makes you feel good, fine. But there's this thing about me seeing a bird in a cage. Anything with wings are supposed to be flying about. If God made birds and give them wings, they're supposed to be flying and flying free. That's me. I'm not saying that if you do them, that God is going to strike you down or you're going to go to hell. I'm not saying that. But for me personally, and First Lady knows this, because when I first met her, she had birds. Was it 2 beautiful birds?
A pair of lovebirds.
Yeah, a pair of lovebirds. And these birds were beautiful, but they were in a cage. And I couldn't understand that. You know, and I still do not understand when I see people with birds in cages. So I'm saying an act of kindness to me is free the birds now. But I understand also that birds are very expensive. We talk about 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 for a bird in a cage. To each his own. To each his own. I'm just telling about me. I have problems seeing birds in cages, and if I had, you know, what should I say? If I had the resources, I would buy birds from people and just open the cage and let them fly out, let them go. And you know, sometimes, but in some cases, that might not be an act of kindness, because sometimes birds are in cage for so long that they don't even know how to be free, and you set them free and they might end up dead. So, but I am saying I just have a problem with that. So feed birds like First Lady, feed the birds. Yeah. Here's another thing, act of kindness, as far as I'm concerned, and it's a peeve of mine as well.
You have a comment in the chat, Dr. Richards? I don't know.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We feed stray animals, even birds,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Feed
probably
them.
dogs and cats.
Yeah, yeah. You know what, people feed dogs and feed cats and all kind of dogs and cats in the yard that they pick up. You know, if you're in a position, and that's what an act of kindness is, you know, when you are in a position to do good for somebody or some animal and you do it, that's an act of kindness. That is being kind. So here's another peace of mind. You go to the supermarket, and I think I've spoken about it before. You go to the supermarket, you pull into you pull into the car park, the parking lot, and it's full. And somebody come out of the supermarket. They put the goods in the car and you're waiting for the spot. And they sit down and they're talking. If it's a woman, she's fixing her hair, putting on makeup, or you're on your cell phone and you're chatting, and somebody is there waiting for a spot. I cannot understand why people do that. One of the things that I do as soon as I'm finished, if I go to the supermarket or wherever I go, as soon as I get into my vehicle, I drive off because I know there are people waiting for a spot and I don't own it. And the only reason why I have a spot is because somebody came out or there was no car there. But come on, people. And I want us to start practicing doing that act of kindness. Please, when you come out, as soon as you pack, put away your grocery items in your car, drive out now and let somebody else get a turn. But don't use it as a time to sit down and relax and you buy something in the supermarket, so now you have to sit down in your car and eat it. All right? Some of you may not agree with me, but I really believe, you see this? I believe this is one act of kindness that we could really do better on, that we could really work on and do better. Yeah? How about giving a tip? Even the same supermarket, I don't know if people still do it. The person who comes out with your trolley, do you give them a little tip? And I don't mean a little $1 and $2, because we know supermarkets don't pay much. And these guys, whether it's male or female, depend on the little tip that they get when they carry your groceries out. Get them a little something now. That's an act of kindness. That is an act of kindness. Tipping somebody, or even not just the supermarket, but somebody who gives you enjoy this service. There was even a time when I used to tip people in the gas station. There are particular people, and that was a long time ago, because half of the time I don't know people in gas stations anymore. But there are certain people who they were very courteous and kind to me. Give them a little thing. That's an act of kindness.
We have some comments in the chat, Doc.
Yes, go ahead.
Someone says, what about waiting for the spot and someone takes it, or the gas station? Someone says, I do tip supermarket attendant, even taxi drivers.
Right. Good. And I'm glad that you spoke about that, waiting for the spot. Because if you're driving to the parking lot and a car is coming out and you notice that there's another car waiting, but because of the way the person reversed, they block the other car and you're able to go, don't do that. Don't do that. Be courteous and kind. The person was there before you. Allow them to go into the spot. It's one of the most irritating things you can do to people after they're there and they're waiting to go into the spot. And I know it has happened to many of us. You're waiting to go into the spot and somebody just come and drive in and they're gone. Let's be kind. Let's be courteous. Let's enhance people's lives. One of the things I like to do as well, I can't do it all the time, is these guys who are at the side of the road, when they you pull up by the traffic light and they come to wipe your windscreen, get them a little thing now. Let them do it. That's an act of kindness. Let them do it. Now, I know some of them are real bold faced. They ain't even waiting. They just start to clean your windscreen on them, and then I know, but they're trying to make a living. And the reason why I say to do it is because, you know, we tell young people, we see them begging online, oh, they got a job now. Well, they're going to look for work now. We say that to them. And when they do, we don't want to support them. Nobody said get them $100 because there's no fixed price for what they do. But allow them, you know, encourage them. So instead of robbing somebody, they're working. They are working and they're doing a service. So get the guys a little thing. Huh? If you have been passing them straight, I want to encourage you. Give them a little thing. Help, and you are creating employment when you do that. Those same guys have families. They have parents, they have whoever. So I am saying, you know, be kind. Be kind to these guys when you see them by the road and get them a little thing. Somebody drops something, you pick it up. And one important act of kindness is forgiving. Forgiving somebody who's made a mistake. Very often we want to beat people over the head and we want to remind them of the mistake that they made. Forgiving is an act of kindness. What about complimenting? You look nice today. And I'm not talking about sexual harassment. I'm talking about you tell your spouse, even your children, your parents, your sibling, your good friend, your co-worker, hey, I like how you look today. Or that hairstyle, you know, brings out the light in your eyes. Although you have to be very careful of how far you go. But compliment someone. You must find something to say to somebody to make them feel good. That's an act of kindness. We have to learn to compliment one another and encourage one another. You know how nice it is for somebody to know that, hey, they're looking good today, or they're smelling good today. Hey, what's that perfume you're wearing? It really smells good. But be very careful because you can cross the line and it can be termed as sexual harassment. So be very general in your comments and be very courteous in your comments, in your compliments. Are we receiving this? And the thing is that one small act of kindness can have a ripple effect. Because you say something good to somebody, or you do something good for somebody, and they too feel so good, they go and do something for somebody else. And we could create a whole movement of change. And another thing I want us to practice doing is this. When you see someone being kind, you encourage them, compliment them, tell them you appreciate what they did, even if they did it for somebody else and not you. You see somebody do something for somebody and you encourage them so that they would do it again. Because when you it's called positive reinforcement. When you reinforce somebody positively, it makes them want to do more good. It makes them want to do it again. It makes them feel good about doing it, and at least somebody's saying thanks to them. Somebody's appreciating what they did. All this is being kind. And remember, we are saying that love is kind. Teach your children kindness. Teach them how to look out for one another. Not just their siblings, but for other children as well. Teach them to be kind. And I'll tell you something, when kindness touches you, that's one of the greatest feelings in the world. And it is said, the best way to understand kindness is to practice it. The best way to understand kindness is to practice it. And how do you practice it? By doing it, by paying it forward. Somebody does something to you, you pay it forward. Pay it forward is to respond to kindness done to you by doing it for somebody else. So somebody bless you, you bless somebody else. And do you know that is a principle that God uses? God might want to bless you, but he blessed somebody who would bless somebody else, who would bless somebody else, who would bless you. If the first person had blessed you, it would not have been the same kind of blessing. But God used somebody close to you to bless you in a way that he wanted you to be blessed. But he did that by allowing them to be blessed in a way that they would appreciate the blessing and then bless you. That's the way God works. But if you are selfish, God will not bless you because you know you want to keep the blessing for yourself. You won't pass it on. You won't pay it forward. So I'm saying to you, be kind, pay it forward. You don't necessarily have to pay it back. In other words, it is not necessarily the person who did the kindness to you that you ought to repay or that you can repay. But if somebody blesses you in some way, if somebody is kind to you in some way, find somebody that you can be kind to. It may not be of the same measure or the same kind, same thing, but be kind to somebody. And you will find when you do that, you are making room for God to bless you even more. Kindness is a gift that everyone can give every day. I'll say that again. Kindness is a gift that everyone can give. All of us can be kind. And all of us can be kind every day. Not only to others, but also to ourselves. And kindness shows that we are worth the effort and our efforts have worth. We're coming to the close to the end today, but I did some research today and I found out that there are some countries that actually practice kindness as a country. In Japan, I don't even know if I can pronounce it. It's called omotenashi and senbetsu. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's translated as hospitality. So how do they do it? People would, and it's very simple, you know. People would cold wear surgical masks, and the reason for that is so that they would not infect others, like we did during COVID. But they do it all year through. The same Japanese people, after a tournament, and they made a big thing about it in the last Olympic. After the Japanese people, after they were done, they cleaned up the stand where they were sitting. Everybody just left, and all the things they were eating and the paper and everything left. The Japanese people cleaned up the stand. And the rooms that they were staying in, they didn't leave it dirty, they cleaned it. Also in Japan, neighbors deliver gift wrap boxes of soap powder before beginning a building work. So let's say a construction going up, they carry soap powder to the people to help them wash their clothes because they know they'll have plenty of dust and stuff. Imagine that. And the senbetsu is a goodbye gift, usually of money, and it's given to people who are about to go on a trip or to move or to change jobs. It's actually practice. But the person who they give the money to is supposed to return the kindness to somebody else. In Italy, they have something called a cafe sospeso, or suspended coffee. And what do they do? How do they do it? If you're feeling good, you know, you had a good day, you go into one of these cafes, you order 2 coffees. You pay for 2, you drink 1, and you leave 1 for somebody else who don't have any money. So you could walk into a cafe and get a coffee free because somebody did an act of kindness. Imagine that. In Singapore, and all this is information that I pulled up today. In Singapore, they have a kindness movement, and it's a non-profit organization that's funded in part by the government from the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Community. And what do? They promote random acts of kindness. So they will have people who will just go and clean up the street or helping people You see how we have a lot of migrants in Trinidad from Venezuela, helping them out. It's actually supported and funded by the government. I'll end with this one, and we'll continue on Tuesday. In Iran, they have something called a wall of kindness, where people could donate. They donate food, they donate books, you know, and it's not only like what we're doing now in school time. They just drop off items. You don't need something, you just drop it off, and people who need them would come there and take. All these are acts of kindness. And in Trinidad and Tobago, oh no, we don't do anything. We don't do that. Maybe one day we'll have something. Although we do it, you know, in groups like we are doing right now with the school books and also with the ply that we're trying to build. In this family, we want to have acts of kindness, not just random, but constant and consistent acts of kindness to one another. Let's be there for each other. Love is kind. Love is being kind. That's how you demonstrate love. Kindness is not something you say, oh boy, I just feel kind today, and it ends there. Kindness is something that you have to do, you have to show, and it must affect somebody else positively.
Brother Barry, hand is up, Dr. Ritter.
Yes, go ahead as we close.
Hi, good night all. I just wanted to ask but I think I'm having this problem in my neighborhood. How do you treat the people who take you for granted when you're being kind, or I don't want to say too kind, or you know, yeah, because I tend to be really kind sometimes, and people really, you know, there's one example with this. Well, there's this young lady. I was cutting my hair the other day, and she was passing, and she asked for some money to buy some books. You know, she needed to get some book for school. So I assisted her, and since that, it was like every week, you know, she or her all hours, and I would tell her, I said, no, you can't be in the road this hour, you know, going around passing my people, asking for money, you will bounce up the wrong person, you know, and well, it's again, and it's not her alone, it's our next neighbor as a assistant. Now it reached a point where if you don't have soap to bathe, you know, you will call, you know, you have any soap, or you have soap to wash, you have, and you know, and it's not, you tend to now start to feel like people taking you for granted now, boy, Barry. You know, so how you could deal with if you start to feel that people, they overdoing it, you know, with your act of kindness. How you deal with that?
Well, the first thing you have to remember, kindness is not for you, right? It's for the other person. If the person is benefiting, if you're helping the person in some way, then you should do it. Now, there comes a point in time when your giving to the person may not be an act of kindness. It may be a disservice to them because you're making them dependent on you. You're making them lazy. You're making them not want to do anything themselves. And your giving to them would facilitate that. So kindness is not just saying yes. It might be sometimes saying no. It might be saying, listen, let me teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish. All right? So you have to determine, you have to know that if you are helping this person or you are not helping the person. That is what you have to determine, Brother Barry. If it is that the person is not just taking you for granted, you know, it's just that they see you as a source and they will not look for any other source and they will not look to better themselves because you continue to be their source, then you may have to cut it off. All right? And you may have, your generosity may have to go to somebody else. So you can say no. You can say no. And that in itself can be an act of kindness that you say. But it's 9:30 and I don't like to keep you over. So let me just say thank you so much. Unless someone has a burning question, let me just pause for a second because I don't want to leave you hanging. A burning question or comment. You can do it now. No?
No,
Okay.
Dr. Richard, no hands and no comments in the chat.
All right. So thank you so much. Again, have a wonderful weekend. God richly bless you. May the word that God has deposited in your heart bear fruit. I want to challenge you and encourage you. We do it all the time, but I want to challenge you even more as we're on this topic. Do something for somebody who can't pay it back to you. Do something, find somebody to bless, and not just one day, every day. Every day, bless at least one person. Do something for at least one person. Make at least one person smile. If you can do that, then your living shall not be in vain.